Hey guys, it's Manny. What I wanted to do is quickly, I'm making videos for documentation for myself, and I thought it would probably be a good idea to create additional videos or maybe even publish it on YouTube so it can help others that are trying to go through the same steps and trying to learn. Just so things that I had trouble with, I just want to document them this way so I can actually, if for some reason I deviate or I forget something, I can actually go back and actually see what I did before to figure it out or to do it properly, right? So today, what I wanted to quickly do a video on, hopefully no longer than 5 minutes, we'll see. We want to log in via Windows to a Linux EC2 instance. But before that, of course, we have to create an instance. We're gonna do a very quick overview of the settings. Set a security group to make sure it's safe and no one can get access to your EC2 instance. And then we're gonna connect via Windows using PuTTY, which is one of the biggest problems I had initially because everything I saw had to do with Linux, and I didn't want to open Hyper-V and get a Linux VM set up, right? So, all right, let's begin. So essentially, this is gonna be our instance, right? And we're gonna use a private key to connect via the internet to the AWS cloud and to connect to that EC2 instance, right? And we're likely going to see that security group that you can see protects, per se, the instance. Okay, all right, so let's get on with it. I'm going to go fairly quick through these just because I already know what I'm doing. We're going to do EC2 instance here, EC2. We're gonna go to instances in the left-hand side. Oh wow, look, I have an instance running. Great, don't do this. I'm gonna stop it. Actually, I should have terminated it, but we're gonna launch an instance. We're gonna choose a Linux 2 AMI, and we're gonna do the free tier, right? This is just for testing purposes. Leave everything default. This is what AWS creates for you, a default VPC, a default network per se. It is a VPC, and a default subnet, and leave this default as well. It's gonna auto assign a public IP, so you don't have to mess with it or assign one after. You don't have to do anything. The Iam Role, this is a permission that is given to the EC2. In this case, and I'll go over this in the future. We can just give it an EC2 full access, or it can be none. You can see there's many roles that you can create. So EC2 full access or the default one works just as fine. We are gonna skip all this because that is a little bit more complex. We're gonna stay GP2 as the storage, as the root volume for your EC2 instance. It doesn't need to be too big, that's why 8 is just fine. No need to change anything. Tags, in case you want to organize it in the future. We're going to skip this. We're going to go to security group. All right, so here you're allowing through an SSH connection and port 22, you are allowing literally everyone to connect to your EC2 instance, as you can see. Warning, rules with source of 000.0/0 allow all IP addresses to access your instance. No, thank you. I just want my IP to connect to it. Okay, and this is of course the IP that if you're behind an ISP or internet service provider like Verizon, Xfinity, Comcast, Telefonica, whatever, you'll have an IP, right? Okay, you go over the settings, make sure it's free tier, click on launch. Here we're gonna to test, we're gonna create a new key pair. And we're going to call it, since we already had 2 instances, we're going to call it instance 3. We're going to download the key pair, and you're going to realize that it's downloading a .pem file. Okay, we're going to launch the instance after we download that key, the private key, and it's going to start running. AWS will give you a lot of information down here. You don't really need to know all of this yet. We will need to use this, which is the public IP for the AWS instance that is being created right now. Okay, while this loads, we already have the the .pem key, the private key, but we need to change it from .pem to .ppk, and this is when PuTTY comes in. PuTTYgen is the PuTTY key generator, okay, and you would need to download PuTTY, and both of them will download with no problem. Here you want to load or upload an existing private key file, exactly what it says. So here you'll see, hey, these are already PPK files. Why can't I find the PEM that I just downloaded? You go here, all files. I don't know if I have to scroll up. I don't know where. Okay, so instance 3. It's gonna be a .pem. You want to open that one. Then you want to save this private key. You can call it whatever you want. You can change anything really here, but ideally I don't usually touch that thing. Keep it RSA, everything, save private key. Are you sure you want to save this key? Yes. And then we're gonna call it, now realize we're saving it as a PPK file, and that's what PuTTY will use as a PuTTY private key to connect to instance 3. Okay. Now we don't need that anymore. We know we saved the .ppk key in the downloads folder. We're gonna go to PuTTY. Now we're not going to PuTTY key generator. We're going to the PuTTY application. The PuTTY application, you will see a session. This is what you'll use to connect to the EC2 instance, and then we need to authenticate. However, we need to have that key. So the private key file for authentication, that is the PPK, the PuTTY private key that you will need to connect to the EC2 instance. This case, we'll grab the instance 3. We'll click on open. Remember, it's PPK, right? PuTTY private key, open. We'll leave it there. We'll go up, go to the session, and then here's asking you what host name or IP address do we want to connect to in port 22 via SSH. We want to connect to this instance. So here we'll select it. It's running. Let me refresh this. Oh, there it is. Fresh. Okay, status check, it passed both. So it's running well. So we're gonna go to public DNS. We're gonna copy to clipboard. Perfect. We're gonna go back to PuTTY. We're gonna put it here, and then just in case you want to save the session, you're gonna connect to it again, instance 3, and then you can click on save. Okay, so it's there if you want to connect to it in the future. Okay. Then we're gonna click on open. This is gonna use the PPK to authenticate, that key that we have here to authenticate to this session. I'm gonna click on open. It's gonna tell you, it's gonna give you the security alert. Hey, do you trust this host? Yes, of course I do. I know, I created it. So you wanna log in as EC2 user, and boom, we are in. So let's go to root. We just change directory cd to root, and then we're gonna do list, and we are in. So we send it commands, it's responding. It was very quick to connect, and we're good to go. And that is it. Sometimes this caused me confusion, right? And this is just extra, because when I try to connect here, it would tell me, hey, do all this. It's like, wait, why do I? So in Linux, you don't have to change that key, right? You don't need to create a PuTTY private key. This private key would just work. So this is you're just changing settings to that instance, that file with this. So it's change modification 400, which is just a read, and then 0 to write or execute, and then that, and then you want to connect to your instance with using its public DNS, which is exactly what we used in the other section. Here, there's an example that they use for to connect from Linux using SSH. We're using this key, and we're connecting as EC2 user at EC2. Okay, so that's what this is doing. It's connecting as the EC2 user to the same public DNS that we can see here, and if you move it here, it's the same one that's listed there. Okay, and that is it. Thank you for watching. Let me go back and stop the recording. Thank you very much. Bye.